Hello, everybody. Steve Bowman here. Today, we are going to talk all around mental health and cognitive function. Thank you to everybody that's joined, and for those of you that will listen later. I do want to remind everybody that this is part of our Live Better series. So we are doing a 9-seminar Live Better series, and we're going to be doing that throughout the remainder of this year. So essentially, we're doing a topic every 2 weeks, and we'll talk about the upcoming schedule at the end of today's webinar, but our next one is strengthening your immunity. So we'll dive in and talk all about that in 2 weeks. Our webinars are always live Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, and we will be recording and then posting them to our website and sharing that link out with everybody that registers. So with that being said, let's dive in. So it's important for us to take a minute and consider the fact that mental health is very important. Oftentimes, we don't really give it the attention that it deserves. Like, we all know it's important, but sometimes it's easy to say. Physical health is very easy to see. If somebody's injured physically, we can say, okay, this person hurt their leg, they have a cast, they have a broken limb. But sometimes what we can't see is the mental aspects of how we're doing. How are we doing? How are we feeling? What are we thinking? But not only that, physiologically, is our brain doing what's needed? This is a quote that really I just love sharing. The measure of success is not whether you have a tough problem to deal with, but whether it was the same problem you had last year. If you think about that, how true is that? When we have an opportunity, we have a challenge in front of us, we need to discern on it and make decisions and understand what are the root causes of problems. But we also have to focus on problem solving, saying, I have a problem in front of me. What's the cause of it and what can I do about it? So as we move forward, I really want to dive in and get you just level set and thinking about what are the main reasons why you want to live healthy. And so you'll see some similarities if you've come to multiple presentations, but this is really important that we start with the why. Why is it that you want to be healthy? Why are you here today? Or why are you listening to this webinar? Now, I can tell you, having worked with thousands of people through the years, I know that we all want to live healthy. We oftentimes just don't know how, or we don't want to do the work, or it's hard with the ups and downs of it, the slips and the surges. But what we have to understand here is why. So just consider that as we move forward. Why do you want to be healthy? For me personally, I know that I want to be healthy so I can be the best, father and the best husband and the best Christian and the best person. And I want to be the best, person in supporting and encouraging. And when I'm healthy, I'm more equipped and ready to do that. So whatever your reasons are for wanting to improve, keep that close to you, because sometimes we have a hard time and we just get so caught up in the what and the how, but we often don't focus on, well, why? Why is it that we're doing this? Why did we set that alarm for 6 o'clock to go for a walk before work? Why is it that we are doing what we set out to do? And then one of the things specifically, we all know that change is hard, but one of the things I want you to consider is, what are some things that you know you need to change? Like, just looking at your lifestyle, looking at where you are, what is it that you need to change? Is it your sleeping habits? Is it your routine? Is it your schedule? Is it your priorities? What is it that you in fact need to change? All right. So, and you might not fully know. You might know that where you are now is not where you want to be. And you might have a vision for where you want to go. Hopefully, as we go through today and we talk about mental health and call out a couple key areas, I want you to focus on what are some tangible steps you can take? What are some key action items that you can implement for yourself? All right, so the good news is, and this is something that oftentimes people don't talk about, but lifestyle is a game changer. All right, and I don't say that lightly. Lifestyle is so incredibly important at preventing, treating, and reversing health problems. All right, not only can you prevent poor health outcomes, but you can treat them and you can reverse them with lifestyle as well. So I want you to understand that when we think about lifestyle, I want you to know that that is the single most important thing that can improve your health. And it's the single most important thing that can be a detriment to you as well. So I want you to consider, how is your lifestyle today and what can you do as we move forward? A couple key areas to talk about. We're gonna talk about a couple of these specifically today, but our sleep is important. We need to make sure we're getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, regardless, whether we're 25 or whether we're 65 or 85, we need sleep. Oftentimes people say, oh, well, as you age, you need less sleep. I don't really necessarily think that's the case. I think we might not get enough of it and we might be okay, but we really need to maximize and get our good quality sleep, especially when we talk about our mental health. Everything here really affects our mental health. Nutrition. Nutrition is the number one cause of death and disability around the world. Let me say that again. The number one cause of death and disability around the world is our diet. It's what we feed ourselves every single day. All right. We're also going to talk a little bit about moving more and why physical activity is really good, not only for our overall health, but really for our mental health as well, and how all of these different aspects of our lifestyle tie in with each other. We're not going to focus on these today, but stressing less is also another key factor. All of our stressors can fall into a couple different categories. Important and controllable, your goal is to take action. Important but uncontrollable, your job is to accept and positively cope. If it's unimportant, the key thing is to bury them and make them not as much of a priority in your life. All the things that are unimportant, discard them, do less of them, focus less on it. But we need to understand what are the things that we can control and we can change, and what are the things we need to accept and cope. Cultivating relationships is another key element. One of the things that I know as a health professional, even as a person myself, when we have good relationships, our life can be that much better. But when our relationships are strained or struggling or in a challenge, it's something that we need to work through and get at, how can we really strengthen our relationships, but create supportive relationships around us. And then lastly, avoiding risky substances. The most common things are things like tobacco, alcohol, drugs, caffeine, all kinds of different things. I mean, you name it, there's all kinds of risky substances in our current industrialized age. But it's something that we need to understand that we should minimize these as best we can. It's not saying that it's all or nothing, but you need to focus on avoiding the things that have no real benefit to us and to our health. So when I say lifestyle is a game changer, it's these 6 areas. In the World Health Organization and the CDC as well, they clarify and say that the majority of our health problems are related to these 6 core areas. So now when we're looking at these 6, I want you to build off of that. And I want you to focus specifically right now on why do you want to improve your mental and cognitive health? All right, so we talked about why do you want to improve your overall health, but specifically, what benefits are you seeking? What are the things that you want to have as it relates to our mental and cognitive health? Is it that you're going to be thinking clearly, or you're going to be feeling better? Are you going to be understanding and living your purpose? Or is it that your blood flow is moving the way it should? Your memory is strengthened. You can get rid of your cognitive impairment. You can prevent things like Alzheimer's and dementia. All right. So whether it's the overall mental health or the cognitive function, the ability of our body to move blood and oxygen, it's important that we hold that close to us and we say, okay, how can we improve? How can we improve our mental health and cognitive health? But why? Why do we want to do that? And I know all of you guys on the webinar right now are listening to this later. It's really important to understand that mental health is a real challenge. It's something we need to make a priority in our life, because those things that we prioritize are those things that we make happen. Those things that we really make good in our life. All right, so now as we go through and talk about it, I'm not going to dive into all these specifically. One of the things that I often tend to do as a teacher is I speak too much and I try to go over way too much content. So I'm going to limit myself, and for the purpose of today, I'm going to focus on 3 specifically. We're going to talk about sleep, nutrition, and physical activity. But I do want to call out some of the other ones that you'll see here on the list. Now, again, these are all proven to really significantly help our mental health and or cognitive function. All right, things like hydrating, drinking enough water. Oftentimes we displace water by drinking coffees and teas and sodas and other things. We need water, and the majority of what we drink every day should be water, so we need to hydrate. We need to think positive. We need to consider our thoughts and figure out how we can think positive in all that we do. We also want to understand that we need to manage our emotions. We need to understand that our emotional health is essentially how we feel. And we need to do our best to recognize how are we feeling, what are we going through, and why are we feeling a certain way. And then we need to strengthen our social health, like we talked about earlier with relationships. Having good relationships can lead to a good health, good life, good outcomes, and really a lot of good things. All right. Then we talked about, we'll kind of just talk a little bit about it here, but living your purpose. And this is kind of the being aspect of you. When you have clarity on who you are and your, God-given abilities and talents and passions, when you're living out your purpose, these are things that really do have a significant impact on you and your life. Activating our mind. The quote that I always think of is, if you don't use it, you lose it. And that is true when it comes to our brain. We need to keep our mind active. We need to challenge ourselves mentally. We need to read. We need to stimulate our brain, and we need to use it. Think of it like a muscle. If somebody has a strong arm and they break their arm and they can't use their arm for 2 months, their muscles will atrophy. They will lose strength. They will lose endurance and stamina. Same thing goes with our brain. When we stop using it and stop challenging it, we don't get the benefits and we decline. Eating the rainbow. We need to eat as many fruits and vegetables as we can. 2 rules here. If you see fruit, eat it. And when you eat vegetables, eat them in color. Eat as much color as you can. Making your fat intake count. Unfortunately, when it comes to things like cognitive health, what happens is we clog our arteries with a high-fat diet, especially the SAD, standard American diet. Oftentimes, we're eating such a high-fat diet that it thickens our blood and it obstructs blood flow. And when we obstruct blood flow, we impair oxygen. And when we impair oxygen, our brain doesn't get what it needs, which can lead to memory loss and all kinds of mental problems. And not only that, I mean, the risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, chronic diseases, all of those go up as well when we eat a high-fat standard diet. We need to be mindful of metals. And you might think, watch your metals. What does that mean? We need to be mindful that we do need vitamins and minerals. We need metals like copper, iron, and zinc. But the challenge here is that it's a double-edged sword. Too little, it's harmful. Too much, it's risky, it's toxic. And in the plaques of people with plaques in people's brain, they're called beta amyloid plaques. They're oftentimes filled with fat, cholesterol, saturated fat, but also with iron, copper, zinc, and even sometimes aluminum. They find their way into these plaques, and that can cause a lot of misfires with the synapses of our brain. All right, so we need to watch that. We need to watch arachidonic acid. And again, I'm not going to go into specifics here, but most arachidonic acid comes from animal products. And when we get these things, it's known to cause effects with depression, mental health, and challenges along those lines. Caffeine, avoiding it is best for us. It's not only a diuretic, which dehydrates us, but it also can cause some challenges when it comes to our sleep and our mental health. Stressing less, we talked about avoiding drugs and alcohol, minimizing and or avoiding them, and then understanding that the best way to deal with chronic conditions is to prevent them. The second best way is to address the cause of them and get rid of them. Diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, these are things that are reversible. Oftentimes, people don't tell you that. Oftentimes, medical providers don't even tell you that. They think, people can't do anything about it, and it's not the truth. You can. All right, so this is a snapshot of all the different things, and you might look at this list and think, oh my gosh, I'm stressed just looking at this list. Now, here's the deal. You don't have to do them all at once. You can progress over time and say, all right, what can I start with first? Maybe we start with sleep. Maybe we start improving our diet and activity. And then as we go forward, we will build a little bit of momentum and have sort of a compounding effect that will layer on top other beneficial things. All right. So let's talk specifically about sleep. So as mentioned earlier, the goal is to sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. All right. That is about a third of our life. By the time we die, if we live to 100, we will have slept 33 plus years. Seems like an incredible waste of time if you think about it. But here's the catch. When you focus on getting the good quality rest of both quantity and quality, the 2/3 of your awake life is that much better. All right. So what we have to understand is that sleep is a gift. It is a gift to us both physically and mentally. One of the things that oftentimes people don't address when it comes to mental health challenges, oftentimes therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists, they focus on all the challenges and symptoms, but they don't get at, well, what are the behavioral challenges? What's causing it? But not only that, what can you do with your lifestyle to make some improvements? So when it comes to our mental health and cognitive function, we do not want to take away sleep. Sleep is number one when it comes to our mental health. So when you're considering at night whether or not you should watch a couple more episodes of a TV show or binge watch this or binge watch that, think you deserve to get a good night's sleep. All right. A good night's sleep is the best way to have a good tomorrow. Don't ever forget that. A good night's sleep tonight is the best way to have a good tomorrow. So you can see here on the list, select your why. What's your why? Why do you want to make sleep happen? Do you want to be more energized? Do you want to improve your mental health and your clarity? Do you want to stop overeating as a result of being tired, or eating better because you now have gotten the proper rest and you're not, binging? But then you focus on, okay, well, now what are some things you can do? What are some steps you can implement to really go through and act on the why? So we know sleep's important. We know we should sleep 7 to 9 hours a night. We know it's beneficial. Specifically, what is it? But then what are you going to do? What do you want to do to really make some improvements? Now, this is just a few ideas here. I mean, the list goes on. There's many different things that you can incorporate. But if this is an opportunity for you and you do not wake up refreshed every morning, do your big bear yawn, stretch, and then you yawn a couple times, you go about your day. If not, then let's work on that. Let's chip away at it. And I can tell you this, it takes commitment, it takes persistence, and it takes just being patient with yourself sometimes. It takes many, many years to disrupt our sleeping patterns, and sometimes it can take a little bit of time to improve it as well. All right, and then when we focus on the how, okay, so we know our why, we focus on our what, then we focus on the how. How can we get more specific? What specifically do you need to do? One of the best things we can do for our sleep is to set and determine a sleep and wake schedule, to have consistency, to say, okay, I go to bed every night at 10 o'clock. I'm usually asleep by 11 o'clock and I wake up at 7 o'clock. Some people do that. They go to bed, they sleep fine, they wake up and they're refreshed. Some people, maybe not. It's a little bit more of a challenge, especially if you're on medications or, there's other lifestyle factors that can be playing a role. In addition, we want to consider things like caffeine use and alcohol use. I know there's some times that I've had alcohol and 3 o'clock, I'm laying in my bed like, why am I up? Why am I up right now? I don't want to be up. And so we need to understand that there are some things we can do. All right. So wherever there's an opportunity for you, just consider and personalize it for you and say, okay, why does this matter to me? What are the things I'd like to do? And then how? What is this? What are the specifics? What are the SMART goals? So somebody might say, okay, I'm going to set a SMART goal. Every day, I'm going to avoid technology. I'm going to avoid technology 2 hours before bed. I'm going to stop caffeine use, and I'm going to go to bed every night at 10. All right. That's a SMART goal. You can measure that. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time oriented. All right. So consider this for you. How can you improve your sleep? Here's a little story about Jack. So Jack is one of my guys that I had the opportunity to work with Jack for about a year, and he's an awesome guy. And he really, the two primary areas he addressed in his life were stress and sleep. And they kind of went hand in hand. When he was better able to deal with the stressors and the challenges in his life, his sleep improved. But there were some tools and tactics that he implemented to make a difference. And it's something that we have to remember, that wherever there's a problem, there's a solution. All right. And sometimes we can't see that. Sometimes we don't think that's the case. But we need to remind ourselves that it's possible. All right. The next up is eating well. So we talked about the benefits of sleeping. Now, like I said earlier, nutrition is the #1 cause of death and disability in the entire world. All right. So let that sink in. The #1 cause of death and disability. So again, it's important, and it's very important for us as it relates to our mental and cognitive health. So why is it that we want to eat healthy? Maintain a weight, improve our mental health and cognitive function, strengthen our immune system, increase our energy. And then the what? What are some things you specifically are going to do to improve your nutrition? And here's where I want you to really remember, when you think of nutrition, consider, what are the things I can consume that add value to me? All right. We want to increase those things. The things that don't add value to you and are in fact negative, you want to minimize those, and you want to work them out of your lifestyle. So focus on how can you eat more fruits and vegetables and limit the fatty foods and the animal products, as well as the processed foods. How can you moderate sodium intake? How can you eat more fruits and vegetables? And it's really important for you to understand sometimes small things can make a big difference. I know one time I attended a seminar and a doctor slash dietitian was working with a patient, and he said to one of his patients, all I want you to do is eat oatmeal every day for breakfast. That's the only thing she changed, was she ate oatmeal every day for breakfast instead of the bacon and the eggs and, you know, the standard more American type things. And so she ate the oatmeal for breakfast and she lost 30 pounds. A couple months later, he said, okay, now let's change one more thing. So what you have to consider is, what are some things you can do that have benefits as well? So planning goes into it, you know, decreasing the frequency and or the serving sizes, avoiding buying processed foods. Because I know for me, if processed foods are sitting on my counter, I'm more likely to eat them. If they're not in the house, then I'm less likely. So consider, what are your specifics of what you're going to do? Are you going to shoot for 5+ servings of fruits and vegetables a day? Are you going to avoid oil and, you know, stop consuming oil, which is one of the false advertising things in our American culture, is that olive oil and oils are good for us, and they're in fact not. So the key thing that I will say, as it relates to our mental health and cognitive function, two things here: keep the fat low, keep the fat intake very low. All right, that's going to increase blood flow, and that's going to improve our oxygen as it moves throughout our body. All right, that's one thing. And the other thing is, eat the antioxidants, the anti-inflammatories. Like our grandparents and our parents said to us growing up, eat your fruits and vegetables. Eat the colorful, dark leafy greens, the tomatoes, the reds, the oranges, the yellows. Eat as much color as possible. That opens up your artery. It decreases inflammation. And by eating a low-fat diet, it moves blood flow. So understand that, again, sleep is really important for our mental health, but so is nutrition. Those in combination, even better. All right, here's the story about Adeze. So Adeze was one of my students, and she is incredible. She actually ended up switching to a plant-based diet, and she ended up just eating twice a day, and that's what she's stuck with for about a year plus now. And she has 2 plant-based meals a day, and sometimes she'll eat the same thing twice. She'll eat it for lunch, she'll eat it for dinner, and for her, she's lost weight, her mental clarity is improved, and she is feeling really good. But one of the things she always talks about is just having somebody believe in herself, having somebody that encourages her and supports her and challenges her to be her best self. And that's one of the things that, you know, really comes to mind when I think of Adeze's story. All right, last bucket, moving more. Look how happy they are because they're exercising, they're biking. That's the way we need to think of exercising. Again, it's a gift. Sleeping, nutrition, exercise, it's a gift. Imagine if I said to you, meet me tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., I'll give you $1 million. My bet is you'd all be there, right? Because it's an incredible gift. The benefits you get from exercise, again, are an incredible gift as well. So here's what we have to understand when it comes to movement. Physical activity increases blood flow. All right, it decreases inflammation. It has all kinds of natural benefits. We release endorphins. We get a surge of dopamine. We get all these feel-good chemicals that are naturally there. But here's the deal. The gift is there. We just have to reach out and take it, to take advantage of it. But here's something you have to consider. It doesn't have to be something you don't enjoy. One time I had a woman say, oh, I will never run unless somebody's chasing me or there's a fire. And I laughed, like I often do with people I work with. I laughed with her, kind of at her, and we were joking. And I said, you don't have to run. I said, that's fine. You can certainly pick things that you enjoy and do those things. But again, if the benefits of exercise could be put in a pill, in our pill-happy society, it would be the most widely prescribed medication ever. Because I mean, literally, I do this with my students and I say, let's talk about the benefits of exercise. And we literally can think of 40, 50, 60 plus benefits of being physically active. So even something simple like walking and stretching and basic, endurance training or strength training doesn't have to be complex. So again, pick your what. Understand your why. Why do you want to get that daily walk? Why do you want to do strength training a few days a week? Why do you want to do a yoga class every morning? And then what specifically are you going to do? And then how are you going to do it? All right. So that's something that we have to consider for each of you. You all need to figure out and say, I want this gift. Yes. Open arms. But then we have to say, okay, now specifically, what can I do? but focus on progression with sleep, with nutrition, with sleep, nutrition, and movement. Focus on making progress. You don't have to snap your fingers and say, everything's better. It takes time. It takes many, many years to learn bad habits. And it also takes many years to unlearn them and to really reinforce good habits. All right. So one of the things I'll say is just focus on progression and just focus on over time, just adding a little bit more. One time I had a woman I worked with, she could only do 1 minute on the elliptical and that was it. And I said, it's all right. That's okay. I said, next time you get on, let's do 2 minutes. She did 2 minutes. The next time she did 3 minutes. You get where I'm going. She ended up coming to me one day, bawling, so overwhelmed with emotion. She did 60 minutes months later. And she said, I can't believe it. I cannot believe that I was able to do it. And it was the beauty of progression, a compounding effort that made steps in a good direction. Here's another testimonial or story from Grace. Grace is actually one that she had improved her diet and it improved her diet and it helped her be much more active. She enjoyed being active before, but as a result of her nutrition, it really stepped up. And her husband did it together and they feel incredible. And she's still just kind of a walking, testimonial, being that she saw that she wanted to improve her life and she did it. And she really is leading by example with others as well. All right, so improving our sleep, eating well, and movement. If we couple that with managing our stressors, strengthening our relationships, and avoiding risky substances, again, that's why lifestyle is a game changer. Now, keep in mind here before we proceed, if one is out of whack, it can affect other areas as well. All right, so we just have to be mindful of that you don't have to be perfect in all these areas. We're gonna have challenges. We're gonna have a strained relationship. We're gonna have a bad night's sleep. We're gonna have these things. But what we have to focus on is what we do daily is what matters. What we do the majority of the time is what matters most. So you can, in fact, live better. All right, so you can change. Let me just say that to you. You can change, you can improve, you can make progress. You have to focus on your mindset. You have to really change your mindset. If you've always been somebody that doubts yourself and says, I failed at this, I failed at that, I failed at this, say to yourself, I can do this. I believe in myself. All right. So believe in yourself and passionately pursue what it is you want to do. And then don't stop. Don't stop till you get there. And knowing that change takes time. Sometimes change is simple. I can tell you exactly what to do and how to do it, but it takes time. It's your journey, it's your improvements, and it's something that you can incorporate over time. All right, so let me ask you this in kind of wrapping up. What would a good 12 months look like for you? 12 months from now, where do you want to be? In 12 months, do you still want to be dealing with some of the same challenges you have now? I know for me, I can answer that and say, nope. Absolutely not. I want to fix some of the challenges that I have going on in my own life and move past them. All right. So what does a good 12 months look like for you? And focus on the fact that over the next 3 months, 12 months, who do you want to become? Okay. So think about that. Who do you want to become to get where you want to go? So we all know where we are now. We all know where we want to go or have some visions of where we want to go. Who do we need to become in order to get there? So oftentimes we might say, oh, well, I need to be motivated. I need to be committed. I need to be disciplined. Okay, well, I need to be. Start being those things. Be those things now in order to get there. Oftentimes we kind of want to arrive. We have like destination disease. We want to get there, but we oftentimes don't want to do the work. So consider over the next 3 months, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you can, in fact, do to really go through and make some improvements? All right, over the next 90 days, what's possible for you? All right, and so I kind of want to recap here and just spend some time in Q&A, but I want to share a few things here. Hold on 1 second. It's loading. No. All right, we'll give it a quick minute. My PowerPoint's saying it's not responding and it needs to restart. Hold on 1 second. Let me give it a second here. Okay. All right. We're good. All right. So what I want to ask you is, are you next? Are you somebody that is ready and willing to make the change? Because that's the key. Knowing and doing are two different things. There's a lot of us that know what needs to happen, but we have to be willing and ready to make some changes and implement these things. All right, so I want to challenge you to consider your lifestyle and consider what are the factors that you can in fact change. What is within your control? There's things in our life that we can't, but what can we control? Here's a quick little video about a course that we have that is available for your mental and cognitive function. It really speaks to and walks you through all the different things we talked about today.
Are you looking for ways to improve how you think, feel, relate, and act? Do you struggle with memory loss or mild cognitive impairment? We are Live and Lead. We offer an online health improvement course that will equip you in living better and leading a healthy lifestyle to succeed in improving your mental health and cognitive functioning. Throughout this course, you will improve your sleeping habits, social relationships, increase your physical activity, and eat well to improve your overall mental health. Sign up for our course to learn how you can transform your mental health and cognitive function. Take responsibility for your health and get started today at livelead.org.
So for those of you that are interested, we have that course, but we also have a free course available. That is just a quick little teaser that kind of walks you through and it gives you some of the information on how and what. It takes about an hour to complete that. But if you're interested in any of those courses, you can absolutely check them out. And I do want to kind of highlight, again, the purpose of that course is everything we talked about today, all around how can we improve our mental health and our cognitive function. And I can tell you, this is an important topic for everybody, for all of us. This is not something that we can say, oh, well, that doesn't affect me. We all can absolutely use the benefits of sleeping more and hydrating and improving our mental health and really making some behavioral changes.